Hey everyone, Miguel Ramirez here from Sasquatch Theory. On today's podcast, we have Jimmy back on the show from the Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky to update us with all the new activity that he's had. If you didn't catch his last interview, I will leave it on the end screen and in the description down below. Jimmy has been feeding the deer and trying to get trail cam photos of really nice bucks, and it turns out that he was feeding the Sasquatch. One time he went up on the ridge, was dumping out corn, and these things fired off and they were hollering. Jimmy was able to get pretty good video of the vocalizations, and it is unlike anything I've ever heard in my life. Without a doubt, 100% Bigfoot. Jimmy claims he was unknowingly gifting these creatures, and when he stopped, he feels like the activity really intensified. People claim that wood knocking and calling out to these creatures does not work, and it's complete bogus, but Jimmy has proof in the video that he shared with me, and he calls out to these creatures and they respond. Keep in mind that a lot of those people saying that wood knocking and calling doesn't work have no idea what they're talking about, and they're just repeating what they've heard other channels and people say. So just disregard them and know that wood knocking and calling does work. I do not recommend it, and I don't think any children out there listening to this should go out in the woods and wood knock, because you might call one of these things in. If you would like to help support the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Of course, if you have your own Bigfoot or cryptid encounter, feel free to reach out to me sometime. With all that being said, let's dive straight into Jimmy's Bigfoot encounters from the Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky. All right, Jimmy, welcome back to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show, Jimmy. Not too long ago, we got together and we did some Bigfoot research in the areas where you've had your past encounters at, and it was certainly a spooky, squatchy area in the Daniel Boone National Forest. When we went there, we could hear something paralleling us on the Forest Service roads and trails, and then when we got way back there, I did a whoop call, and it sounded like something called back. It didn't sound like any known animal. I don't even know if it was Bigfoot. It could have been like a canine creature, but you could hear him down at the river, and we walked a long ways. But you've had some activity since our last trip. Can you tell me about the things that you've experienced since I've last spoken to you?
Yeah, I remember that evening we went over there, and it's kind of crazy, but I just showed you all the spots where I'd had my stuff happen before, but what I didn't realize is they didn't say too much when Yins was here, but these things are I've had more activity just as bad, other than a straight on face to face like I had before, but no, it's just I was, after y'all left, the orbs, I started having weird stuff happening to me, and the my cameras they're the new type that send a picture to your cell. I was getting orbs, and then one evening my camera went off, and it's set up to where if something's coming, it's coming to me. And when I pulled it up, it's a ghost. And I sent you that picture. And it's just, it's been crazy ever since. But I can't remember. I believe I told you about the orb, and then seeing this, whatever it was, moving up the ridge beside me, didn't we, on the last time?
I think you did. Can you tell me about it again?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but well, I think it has a whole lot to do with it. But anyway, after I went by myself back up to some of the places I told you, it wasn't 3 weeks later. Just all kinds of crazy stuff started happening around here. I mean, I was finding rock stacks, excuse me, and tree breaks, and I got a picture of an imprint in the leaves that I wear a size 13 and I have my boot on, and I put it next to it, and it dwarfed it. but it all started off. I was seeing and hearing stuff. I was hearing high pitched whistles, and it was like somebody was looking at me, trying to get me to look at, because I was hunting. Hey, I'm here. Don't shoot. But nothing. I couldn't see nothing. So one evening, I moved my position, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking up to where I usually hunt, and all of a sudden, this white light it starts out maybe a little bigger than a softball, but I mean, it's a white, brilliant light. And it just comes up out of nowhere. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what the hell am I looking at? And then this went on. I probably looked at this thing for anywhere 2 to 4 minutes, maybe. And I got out my little blind and I stood up and I was looking at it. And I thought, well, that old man's brought his grandson back here to hunt. And that's why I got out, just to see if I could see him. When I got out, I realized I was looking totally in the wrong direction. This was coming off of a little finger ridge. But this ball, it started out a little bigger softball, and then it went up to maybe the size of a soccer ball. And it had these rays coming out each side. I called them rods. They went from the thickness of that ball down to a point. And I mean, these things were out 8 to 10 feet, but I don't know if that's just where the light was bright, making it look like that. And I was trying to figure out what the hell I was looking at. And then it just, as quick it was there, it just poof, it went off like it wasn't even there. And I thought, well, is that ball lightning? And I thought, well, God, no, it's in the wintertime and it was overcast, no rain, no storms, no nothing. So I got back in the blind and was sitting there and it went, I'm thinking maybe 5 minutes it went by or something. And I caught movement out of my peripheral vision out of my left eye. It was on the same little finger ridge, but up about 40, 50 yards from that, I seen what looked like an upright, whatever this was. It was a chocolate brown, but kind of have a red tint to it. And it was moving. I just seen movement. I didn't really break down to look and see what it was at that time. It just movement caught my eye. So I turned and looked, and it went behind a pine tree that wasn't real big, maybe 12, 16 inches in diameter. It never come out the other side. And I thought, what in the world was I looking at? And then about, I don't know, not even 10 yards up from it come out again. I seen movement again. Each time I turned my head, that's when I'd see movement. When I turned back, he'd go behind a tree. It done that 3 different times going up that ridge. And that's when I got up and I said, no, I'm not doing this. And I come home, and that's when I got here, she was all tore up. While all this was going on, something had come up and smacked the back of the house here. And it had mud on it, like something had been thrown. You could see mud about 12 feet up. It was just right under the soffit. I don't know what the hell that would have been. And it was just constantly, I was seeing smoke, how you got a peripheral vision. I was just seeing moving flashes of dark stuff, and I've had to deal with that my whole life and really never paid attention to it, but just everything kept escalating up and it just kept ramping up. The more I went over, the more stuff that was happening to me. And I don't know, man. And that happened right before you all come down. Then after you all left is when it really got crazy.
Yeah, so you were already having activity before the Ozark Harry Man and myself came down to Kentucky to visit you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is strange because when the Ozark Harry Man found an Airbnb cabin, I was shocked that he actually found one that was like right down the road from you. Like we all had no idea. It was just random.
Yeah, no, and I just couldn't believe it. Where you was staying was not even a half a mile from me. Just across the main road. It was, never even knew they had one over there. Mm-hmm. But just things worked out, and I wish that because I don't know if we'd have got anything, but I always thought that what I've seen 2 different times have been paralleled more than I could even count. And all my dads and brothers have been have had these things, encounters with these things. And I always thought, like where I live now and around where people were seeing, you know, and I'm not far out of town, but I was wrong. These things, I believe, are in these areas, may just as much, if not more, than deep than where we went.
Yeah, it blew my mind that we went super deep into the Daniel Boone National Forest. And after we left, you're having activity at your house, like behind your house. Is that the Cumberland River back there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild. Okay, so if you would tell us about these experiences that you had after we left Kentucky.
Okay. Well, after you all left, you know, let's see, I'm trying to think when Yins was here, but this all really took off. And see, when was it? I sent you the picture. I'm pretty sure it was like the 1st of January, somewhere in there. I've been you know, feeding the deer. We like just feed them and get them on cameras and stuff. So we go up there. I get out of the truck like I've done 100 times before. Throw the sack feed on my back and walk up there to it. As soon as I took it off and that bag of feed hit the ground, I got the first call. And I have got a picture of this I sent you. The exact time that that corn hit the ground is one of the first growl, scream, or whatever it was. And I'm looking up, and I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. So I'm thinking in my mind, I just heard something because it's echoing off the river because I'm right there. The one screams were from over there. Now they're over here. And you can hear the dogs all over the place reacting to it. What was that?
I don't know. I heard that too.
Hun, that's Bigfoot. What screams that you can hear go for miles and miles that deep of a pitch? Did you hear how loud that was? That's across the lake. Hear all the dogs?
Mm-hmm.
Holy that's them, hun. Woo! Oh my God, hun. Oh my God. Holy shit. Did you hear it changing pitch? That sounds like St. Louis County, Minnesota. Them, ain't it? Ain't it? Woo! I have never, since I have, that didn't scream at a scene, but on the river it was like that, but way more pissed off. Did you hear the tones of that thing changing like the St. Louis County?
That was freaky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hear it again? That's them, hun. Oh my God. You getting real cold?
Listen.
That's it, hun. That one come from across the lake, and the other one's back toward where Walt and them live. You know it? I've been telling everybody they're here. Rock stacks. Trees broke off. Running through that thicket scared the hell out of me.
Here.
Oh my God, hun. Listen to that. Why are they screaming in the daytime? Are they looking for each other or what? One's on this side of the river or lake, whatever, and the other one or two's on the other side. Listen to that. If they keep doing this, I'll take you back home for a minute and I want to come back up here. I don't want to leave them doing this. I wonder what it'd be like if we was up on the hill on the pavement part.
I don't know. Are you talking about up there where you,
Just right up the hill here. Oh my God. That's crazy, ain't it? Yeah, 2 more minutes and we'll go. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to holler back. They were communicating, like locating each other or something. I've got 2 or 3 of them recorded.
Is what they were trying to like they were communicating.
But that one was that ooh, and then it changed bass real deep, just like St. Louis County, Minnesota. Here, hold this right here. It's still recording. Right here. I'm gonna walk around, get in the truck, hold it right there. Maybe that's why I've been getting all them orbs. You know what? Just a couple seconds, we'll go. Oh my God, can you believe it? Please tell me I'm not crazy. Okay, in here. I believe they stopped.
And so I poured out, and she's in the truck, so I poured the corn out, and I'm going back down through. But me walking through, it had snowed a little bit, and everything was frozen. It was crunching. But as I'm going back to the truck, which isn't far, I'm hearing these things, and I'm thinking, "You're crazy. You're losing your mind. You're not hearing this." And the first thing that we heard when I got back there, right before you hear the first roar, I mean, it was far off, but it was real deep. You hear like a low grumble or a growl. And then that it was like right there next to us. Then it was off in the distance. You heard the big growl, like roar, basically, that was probably, I'm going to say 3 to 5 seconds long. And then maybe 5 seconds after that, across the river, you hear this one fire up, and you got, you know what I'm saying, you got the audio and the video of it. But altogether, I think I ended up recording video was 17 or 19 minutes long. And toward the end, I know I got excited and everything, but toward the end, when I'm hollering back, this thing has responded to me, and it had moved closer. And I mean, I just couldn't believe it. And I kept thinking to myself, I knew it. I mean, all this stuff I was seeing just a few months ago wasn't in my head. I mean, these things are here. And I was feeding the deer before I headed back down to Tennessee to go to work. I stayed down there during the week. And so I didn't want to leave, but I had to. So I go to work. 4 or 5 days later, we come back. And we get here to the house, and we're not in the house maybe 30, 45 minutes at the most, Miguel. And we're sitting here watching TV. And I don't know, it's never happened to me, but we were hearing owl calls so loud, they was over the sound of the TV playing. And I had a feeling. I thought, And I walk out opening my back door and step out on the porch. And the ridge behind my house is where I hunt. And up on the very top was the first hoot owl call. And you could tell they were trying to mimic one, but it was not an owl. And there was 6 of them. It started at the ridge and it worked all the way down. And the very last owl call was exactly where I feed the deer. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And I knew it. I knew then. I thought, yeah, so, they're still here. And I'll be honest with you, it unsettled me a little bit. It scared me a little bit because it was dark. But I was hearing stuff crashing through because it was still cold. It had been cold for a week or two, I think, here. And so I come back in and step out on the front porch, and where I seen the stuff I'm going to get into in a few minutes about all the orbs recently, you could hear something moving, and it spooked her, and she come back inside. And shortly after I did, and you could tell whatever this was, I mean, it wasn't right. I come in, I get my phone, and I go back out and down the steps on the back porch, and I'm hearing them over on the ridge where I was hunting at, but I started hearing the leaves and stuff like something moving through the trees, and I turned it around, and that's when I got the eye shine, and it was probably about 80 yards from me. And I sent you that video and pictures, I'm pretty sure too. That was unsettling. And because this, whatever it was standing there looking at me, and I just had a feeling turn around. And when I did, because I was filming off toward where I was hunting, and I turned around, and these eyes, and it's a moonlit night. And you can see there's this light skim of snow on the ground, but these eyes are self-illuminating, and they are huge. And that's I don't know, that's just something that's terrifying. And then I have started having the dreams and stuff like that again. I don't know, but the only thing I don't care if anybody believes me. I really don't. But all this kicked off after me going back up there to where I'd had my worst encounter that I've ever had in my life. And then when me and her was up there camping, and we was hearing one scream that night up there, it sounded like a siren. I went to those two places, and 3 weeks later, I mean, the past 2 or 3 weeks ain't been bad here. I can tell when they're around, every dog in the valley is raising hell, and you can just tell just something don't feel right. But no, it just keeps going on after that.
Yeah, that's definitely spooky activity. And I had a feeling that you were going to continue having Bigfoot encounters, because when I first interviewed you, you told me the story where you were camping with your family and this thing came down the mountain. And I remember every detail about it. And I think you said it was your uncle. He had the rifle, and he was shaking so bad he could barely hold the rifle. And you thought it was normal. Like, you grew up as a child thinking that this type of phenomenon was just normal. And I had the same experience when I had my Bigfoot encounters later on in life. Like, after I encountered them, like, it rewired my brain, and I felt like everyone would know what I was talking about, especially big time hunters. Like, if you would mention Bigfoot to them, they'd be like, oh yeah, I've had experiences too. But like, nobody seemed to know what I was talking about. And it just gave me that feeling. So I'm sorry you had to grow up as a child, confused by this, thinking that it was normal and everybody knew about it, but they didn't.
No, and what made me think that it was normal, my dad wouldn't really say nothing because he didn't want to scare me. And you know how it is when you're camping with a bunch of your uncles, and then if there's any drinking involved, which there was as a kid growing up, that changed as everybody got older. But it was just an encounter after encounter. I mean, there was 15 of them on my dad's side. Some were step brothers and sisters, but all my uncles and stuff, every one of them had stuff happen, been chased out of the woods. Coon dogs got in a fight with something. The coon dogs hit the river, and this thing, one of them tried to come in under the cliff on them. And it's just, I mean, I thought it was normal. I really did. And I just honestly, I didn't tell nobody because my uncle, he's dead now. Uncle Jim, he told me, he said, boy, you just keep this stuff to yourself. He said, they'll think you crazy. He said, just don't tell no one. And because I was going off of him telling me what had happened to him, nobody would believe him and stuff like that. But I just stayed away from a lot of these spots. And like I said, I've got proof that, I'm telling the truth because it's had witnesses, and it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but me staying away all them years, and then I come back here, and then last year, 3 weeks after being last, or actually it was this fall, be 2 years ago. But 3 weeks after I come back from going up in there, this stuff is happening here. And I don't know if it was done already here, and it just took me that long to figure out. But one of the first trips I went back here behind the house, she'd got me a crossbow. There's a huge cedar thicket that runs this bluff. The only way is there's no logging road that I was on, but all the game trails were going right through the cedar thickets. You know how the game love the cedar thickets. So I'm going around, I get all the way around there to the end of it, and it's probably a quarter mile long. And I'd say no more than 60 to 80 yards wide. and get around there to the end, and something startles me. A sound did, and when I turned around, it sounded like a tree falling. You know how when they fall, they're just breaking all kinds of stuff, just limbs. And when I turned around, I was looking to see something, but this kept falling for like 15, 20 seconds, just crashing like a tree falling. And when stuff like this happens to you, it takes your brain's trying to figure out what in the hell's going on. And then about that time, about 150 to 200 blackbirds come ripping out over my head. And what I didn't realize, something was running through that thicket toward me and stopped right at the edge, no more than 50 yards from me. And that scared me to death. I went home. I called her and I said, I've just had something happen. I'm coming home. I can't do this. I mean, how do you explain the sound of a tree falling for 15, 20 seconds? And it's all right here. I mean, all of this stuff is just right here at my house.
Yeah. So you have a family history of Bigfoot experiences, and it was normal in your family growing up.
Oh, yeah. And everybody that grew up down around my dad and stuff. I remember my dad said when he was a young kid growing up, there was this lady that lived by herself. Her husband had passed away, lived out on the end of a ridge, right behind her house, dropped straight off to the river, and said that he remembers my grandpa uh, talking to other men, and my dad and all of his brothers would be there about how these wood boogers were coming up to steal her chickens, and she was shooting at it and trying to run it off, and they just thought it was normal. I mean, they were like, "Oh yeah, just leave them alone. You know, they ain't going to bother you." It was just right around where Dad and them grew up. It was, I think, normal. Normally, it was just, I don't know. It didn't strike up any news, if you know what I'm saying. You know, about to bring up a conversation. Everybody just knew it was the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty interesting that your family's had experiences. So you did have that. You weren't completely isolated, but yeah, when you talk to other people, they don't seem to know what you're talking about. And I actually had an interview on my channel from that same area. The guy called it the Burnside Monster, and he was on the show. And you know, this is fairly close to where you're at. I'm not going to say exactly where you are, but you know, it's the Daniel Boone National Forest, which is pretty darn big. But yeah, the shadow person or a Sasquatch, I don't know. You got that on the trail camera, and to me, it looks like the real deal. What do you think it is?
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's paranormal. I don't know what the hell it is. But you can imagine, and you can see in the picture, it's right at dusky dark. So imagine sitting in the woods where you've had all this stuff going on. Your phone vibrates, and you look at it, and you can tell you know how you set your camera up. You can tell it's coming to you. Now it's not a comfortable feeling at all. Um, yeah, and hell, that was all last fall or an earlier part of this year, and just the last 3 weeks it's been quiet. But hell, a month and a half ago, I mean, it's just kept going. But I'll back up before I get into. If you want me to tell you about the orbs outside the house, I can go into that, or we can talk about something else now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, I got a big call blaster, so that's Bluetooth. And you remember all of the audio I sent you, and you sent it to Ozark Harry Man. Well, I got some back and some different ones. So we go up on the hill, or I don't want to give it away too much. I was close to where I was basically right on top of where I hunt. And it's a perfect place. It's a very high ridge, bluffs below. And I don't know. I thought I'm going to go up there. And I was not expecting this at all. And I've got a witness to it. I mean, we parked the truck, turned it off. I'm kind of screwing around with it because that's the first time I'd really let it play through. I play my call. Man, I mean, I've never heard an echo run the way these canyons do and the way the river runs. I mean, it was just like you had a PA system for miles either direction. And I hear something, but it was way off. But I know the direction it was coming at. So I waited a second or two. I mean, this all happens within 30 to 45 seconds of me turning the truck off. I hit that thing again, and when it blasted off this time, no, whatever it is, it was a moonlit night, and you could see about approximately where this thing was. I got a response back, and I mean, it was a loud vocalization, and I was fumbling around, and I still need to send those audio things so you can plug them in and bleed them through. But yeah, that was crazy. Done it no more than 2 or 3 times. It was probably 4 or 5 times, and I got several responses, and then. You know how coyotes, when we were down there, you could play a call and how you can tell when they're answering to you, coming to you. I got that response, but it sounded like they was a pack of 25 of them at least, if not more. They were over. It sounded like they were fighting and ripping each other apart. They wasn't yelping and howling and carrying on like they do. I mean, these things were fighting, and what they were fighting, I have no idea. And it was across the lake from me. And I said, yep, I'm done with this. And I turned around because I wasn't facing out like I should have been. So I went down the road and turned around and come back to the house. This was on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Well, get up Monday morning. I have to get up at 4 and leave at 4:30. And so Monday morning I go out and go down the steps. And I don't know why I don't never look that way, because I've got the little solar lights that light up my sidewalk, my concrete sidewalk. I always are looking there, and I hit the key fob on the truck, to light it up because it's dark. And I don't know, something just caught my eye. I don't know if it was peripheral vision or whatever, but anyway, I looked over, and I thought it was deer eye shine. There were 6 or 7. I thought eyeballs at first. I really did. But the longer I stared at them, this went on for probably 10 to 15 seconds. I was looking at them, and I realized, no, they ain't 2 of them side by side. I couldn't really judge how high they were off the ground. I know once I started looking at them and I ruled out it wasn't a deer, they were way higher than what a deer's eyes would be, but they wasn't together in sets of 2s, if you know what I mean. And they were like a light blue and a light green. And they were kind of scattered a little bit, but no more than 15 feet apart. All of them wasn't. But the farthest one to the right was, they were all the size of, I would say, easily a golf ball. But the farthest one to the right was a light green. And all of a sudden, I can stand in front of God right now. This thing takes off going up through the trees. The leaves were starting to grow pretty good. This is just a month and a half ago. This thing takes off and just starts floating up. I could see it going up through the leaves, and you can see the tree limbs where, you can see the city lights and everything, and it goes up and just goes up into the sky. And I said, hell no, I'm not doing this. And I just kept hitting my key fob and got in the truck and left. Tuesday morning, I get up and go out. They're there again. I didn't really try to count on how many balls of light they were. I ignored it and went to the truck. The third morning I went out, I would not look that way. I just had a creepy feeling, and it was probably just me spooked, not knowing what it was. But Thursday morning, when I went out, I got to the truck, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to look over there. And when I did, there was one single orb there. And that was just 2 days after me coming off the mountain up here call blasting.
Yeah, so you feel like call blasting triggered this activity.
Oh, I know it did.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'd had them when I was up here, when I seen the first big orb, and you can see where mud had been slung against the house. And I mean, it's not me just talking about this, and I've told you before, I thought it was normal. And when I talk about this stuff, they're not stories to me. Stories something you can make up. If you have a true encounter, you and God knows the truth. But I just, here again, when I start seems like every time I start trying to dabble in research or just kind of do a little bit more, it just seems like these things will start popping up. But after I want to back up a little bit before the orbs, but after all the owl calls and the eye shine, it went on for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it was crazy around here. And I could tell when they were around. Every dog in this valley was raising hell. And you'd go outside and there would be no sounds whatsoever, but these dogs just raising hell. And I could just tell that they were around. And just 2 weeks ago, we went fishing, brought my boat back, and my nephew said, "Oh my God, what was that?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't you hear that walking up there?" And I said, "Yeah." And I forgot about that. But back to the orbs and stuff, and it was all for me going up there. But I don't know how to explain it all, man. I really don't. I mean, people need to realize these things are they're not made up, and people ain't doing it to seek any fame or glory, because I damn sure ain't doing it. I thought it was normal, and I've sent you all the stuff. I've got 3 audio clips I need to send you, but I really don't know how to explain everything that's happened. And a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember if it was the same evening, me and my nephew, same one, is fishing, and a rock 30 feet out from the bank, because splash, it hits, no trees hanging over. So you tell me where, not unless a meteor fell out of the sky, and this ain't the first time this has ever happened. It's happened to me and my dad before, but my nephew, I mean, it was just a splash. Nobody around. There's no houses around. We're up in a feeder creek. No trees overhanging. So what's the size of a baseball that hits the water?
Yeah, that is strange. I often wonder like what the connection is with the orbs and the Sasquatch activity, but in my opinion, it's certainly connected. And do you think that you were seeing eye shine or orbs and eye shine?
Um, you know, I've never really thought of that, Miguel. I don't know. I've never even, because the only thing I was taken away that it wasn't a deer, they were too far apart. Now that's got me thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like they've targeted you, like you're on their radar, you've been marked by them, and they're just following you throughout your life. Obviously, it doesn't happen every day, but sometimes it happens a lot more than others. And I don't know, I do feel like it's strange. Like you sent me those videos of those vocalizations that were amazing, by the way. And like right after that, I told you I was going to send you my audio recorder. I sent it, and then you ended up having surgery, and it was a pretty serious surgery. So I feel like it was strange that this buildup happened right before you were going to go through all of that. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like it's connected.
Yeah, I do too, because I couldn't get out there, and I'm still, I'm able to go to work, and it was just, it was a life changing surgery, that's for sure, forever. And but yeah, I honestly wondered why too. And then I've heard other people on their talk about their encounters and stuff, or just different things, that they always seem like they were people that had some kind of a disability or this or that or whatever it was, either physical or mental or whatever. A lot of people was having encounters, and I don't know if there's anything to that.
Yeah, it certainly seems supernatural. Now, these dreams that you had, do you want to elaborate on them? Kind of what happened in your dreams? You can either sum it up or you can tell me pretty much everything that happened. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to tell everything in my dreams, but I don't know. It's messed up, man. It's um, yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
do you feel like they got into your dreams, or like maybe you got like a supernatural message from the other side, or even God possibly?
well, yeah, I don't know what it was, but I've had dreams about these ever since I was a kid. You know, these things chasing me, and I don't care how damn fast you are, either in your dreams or on your own 2 feet, you can't outrun them. And that'll coincide with what I seen across the road a few months back. But the speed of these things are it's just hideous. Uh, the fastest thing I've ever seen in my life across the road. But anyway, um, in the dreams, it was just I can't really make it out, but it's like what made it surreal to me is I woke up and I could still feel it on my back. It's like when it whatever it was touched me went plumb through my body. And when I woke up, it was 5 minutes after, and I could still feel the tingling and burning sensation. And I even woke her up and asked her to look if there was a mark on my back. But these things had come to me and um, told me pretty much what they are and where they're from, and I can't say that. I know when I woke up, I felt the feeling, and if everything's that way or whatever, but it was like they didn't like show me a video. It was just the way I felt was what was it playing in my brain and the way my body felt. But it was like it come up to me and laid its hand on my back, and it was when I woke up, I still had the same feeling as in the dream. But it was like they were they were from the Bible, and I mean, there's more of it to it, but I just don't know if I want to really get into all of it. It's
Yeah.
hard to talk about. It's not. It's kind of embarrassing. People think you freaking crazy, but I don't care. But these things were part of the Nephilim, and they are here for an agenda. And I really don't want to go anything past that. But yeah, that's they they revealed themselves to me. I don't know what they are. I really don't, man. And but I can tell you what I've seen is not no monkey. Excuse me, is not no monkey that's been passed over, that stayed hidden for all those years. No, they're not. And all these people that's pushing that agenda forward is full of shit. Excuse my language, but they are. You listen to all these people that come on these shows and give encounters. I can read the BS from the truth. But 99.9% of them all say they're human like I did. Do they look like apes? Yes, they some that probably can too. I'm not saying that they all don't. I'm just saying what I've seen and listened to so many other people, they have too many human characteristics. They're not built like us. They don't have a neck. They're massive. The one I seen 30 yards was, hell, this thing was 4 feet wide, at least 9 feet tall, 800 to 1,000 pounds, and its arms were 7 or 8 feet long. And imagine something like that chasing you off the side of a mountain, and you can hear it. Oh God, yeah. I don't know what they are, man. I really don't. But I know when you and the Ozark Hairy Man come down. I ain't going to give the place where we went. It was in the Daniel Boone. There was something paralleling us at one time on both sides, and it was obvious, and it ain't no deer. Deer don't follow people around the side of a hill. They don't do it. Yeah. And when you made that call, if you'll remember, everything was kind of weird and creepy till then, but when you made that call, it seemed like all hell broke loose until we got out there and them storms were blowing in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that storm came out of nowhere. We were definitely being paralleled. There was definitely some strange vocalizations in that area, and we were just running out of time. It was just strange how that storm just moved in out of nowhere, and we had to book it and walk miles back to the vehicle. But yeah, to sum up the dream, basically, you were told that these things are the Nephilim, and God told us to get ready. I mean, that's pretty
Yes.
much what it comes down to. And that is strange that you had this super ultra realistic dream, and you woke up with the same feeling, like something had actually touched you.
Well, there's only one other dream that was as more eye opening than that, and I don't want to get into that. But that happened when my dad had a stroke, and me and her were staying at my mom and dad's, helping with my dad and my mom, and I don't know what the hell that was that night. But when I woke up, I felt it from my toes to the hair on my head. But that dream there, when I woke up, I was still caught up in the dream, but I knew I was awake. But I still had that feeling like it was in the center of my back, right with my spine, and I could feel it plumb through to my stomach on the front side. And I was asking her, do I have a red mark on my back? And she said no. So, but yeah, the dream was ultra real.
Yeah.
It was just a different, dreams are dreams, some are different, I guess, but this thing here was just like I was somewhere else. I know, in every dreams, people's are like it, but it's literally like I was somewhere else. And then when I hardly ever sleep on my stomach, but I was flat on my stomach when that dream happened.
Yeah. God gives us messages through dreams. And my brother that was recently diagnosed with cancer, he kept saying that I kept having a dream that this happened, that I had cancer. And, he ended up having cancer, and, it's definitely strange. I actually had a dream one time. I thought about my friend that I graduated with. We went to school from kindergarten all the way through high school, and it was years after I graduated. I haven't seen her, haven't thought about her at all. And just one night I had this really vivid dream of her, and it lasted hours. Like, she was just standing there. And I woke up and I was like, what the heck? Why do I have this dream of Brittany? Like, I haven't thought about her in years. And it was just weird because it was a vivid, real dream. Like, it wasn't like your regular cartoonish dream where just random things are happening. But I don't know. I just kept thinking about it that morning, and I opened up my phone, opened up Facebook, and I was scrolling through it, and I saw a post from her that she had cancer, and like it just hit me like, whoa, like this is weird. Like, one of my good friends got diagnosed with cancer, and I just had like this vivid dream of her for no reason. So I felt like that was a message from God. But yeah, I do feel like the supernatural will contact you in dreams to warn you of an event to come or something that's already happened.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, you know how some dreams, when you have them, they're so cartoonish and they bounce around. It's like, what in the world? You're trying to make sense, but how can that happen? But no, this dream here was, how do you explain when you're having a dream and you wake up? And what woke me up was this thing come up behind me and touched my back. And when it did, I felt it go plumb through me. But what was weird about it, when I felt that, I woke up immediately. But when it touched my back, it revealed everything. And it was like it didn't like play a picture for me, but it was like I knew everything from it touching me to me waking up, if that makes any sense. I knew the message I was supposed to have got was instantaneously.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff like that.
It was definitely a message, and I don't feel like it was a coincidence.
No, and I've told multiple people, I mean, I never asked for none of this. And I'll be honest with you, and I'll be frankly honest with you. If I had to do it over, the encounter I had, it was 15 feet from me and my two uncles. Excuse me, I can't stop coughing. You could just see the silhouette, how the fire and the lantern only shines out so far. But that and the other encounter I had when I was by myself, if I could take those back and it never happened, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Because you don't never get over nothing like that. And you realize, you've always, and when you're a kid, and you hear monster stories or watch horror movies and stuff like that, all the stuff like this ain't real. Well, imagine being a 7-year-old kid and realizing that everybody has lied to you. But when you're 21, 22 years old and you're staring one face to face, it, I don't know, it messed me up for it my whole life. I'll never
Yeah.
get over it.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm sorry that that happened to you, and I can definitely relate. I've had encounters, and it'll definitely change you. So you guys were camping. You were with your family, and it got dark. What do you think triggered this thing coming down the mountain? Like, what exactly happened?
Miguel, buddy, I can't tell you because my dad, there were so many of them, but back when I was young, this was in the mid 70s. The whole month of July, all my dad and my brothers, my dad was working, but he'd go out. But my other uncles, I don't even know if they had jobs back at the time or if they was just river bums or whatever. But we'd go way back in the middle of nowhere and down in on the river and stay the whole month of July. And we had been down there 2 weeks and nothing had happened. And then, and I never will forget talking to Dad. It was on a Friday night anyway. My dad had an old red Scout down there, an International Scout, and it was rough, mud holes everywhere. You had to climb the side of the mountain to come out, and it was just as bad coming back in. But they had left going to get him. They'd made an arrangement, and it was after dark and in the summertime, so it had been between 10 or 11. And they hadn't been gone for a little while, and me and my Uncle Lanny, which was my dad's youngest stepbrother, I was just 7 at the time, and he was probably just roughly, I would say, anywhere from 14 to 16-year-old. And we were goofing around, and my Uncle Jim was there, and I heard him say, "Boys, shut up. I hear something." We wasn't listening, and man, he jumped all over us. He said, "Boys, I said shut up." And man, when he said that, you could hear it. You could tell it was up high. It was on the ridge above us on the side of the mountain. And the only way I can describe it, it was a roar / scream. It sounded, if you've heard them on TV or been to the zoo, how a lion, how powerful that is, but it was like that, but not the sound. And you could hear some racket between them. And then I could see him, and he hadn't grabbed his gun yet. And so we're like, what that? And down there on the river, you hear all kinds of stuff. And then it wasn't, I can't remember time because I was just a kid, but wasn't very shortly after that, heard another one, but this time it come off running off the side of the hill. And you could hear it sounded like a elephant running down the hill or somebody drove a truck off the side of a cliff. And it's tearing up, and while it's doing this, it's hollering and screaming it just sounds like hell coming at you. And then it comes down about so far and just stops, and it goes dead quiet. And by that time, me and my Uncle Laney were over there by the fire, and we positioned ourselves with my uncle between the fire and us. And my uncle's got that old Mauser, and he's holding it, and I can still remember him shaking so bad. It had a strap on it you can put over your shoulder, and I can still remember it, or something was clinking. I don't know what it was. And then all of a sudden it started doing it again. But before it started screaming, it was breaking limbs. I mean, it never throwed anything, but it was, breaking big limbs. Like a tree's falling. And it got quiet. Then all of a sudden, here it come. This time, hell, it run right off into camp 15 feet away from us. And how you can put a tarp up in your camp. Well, this thing, when it come down, I remember that. I remember it being off to where the tarp had it kind of covered, not covered it, but, casting a shadow. And you know how a lantern, a light, and a fire only shines out so far. But the river, if you're standing looking where we were, the river was to the left, the road was in the middle, and we were to the right beside the road. And it wasn't a road where people traveled. But that thing run down right next to the road, and there was a patch of trees. And when it run down there to them patch of trees, Miguel, there was not just 3 or 4 of them moving. There were 8 to 10 trees. It looked like a tornado was in them. They wasn't quivering or swaying. These things looked like that there was like a tornado set in the middle of, I mean, they were moving 8, 10, 12 feet in all directions. It was the ungodliest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And the limbs falling out, fresh leaves falling off of it. And after that, it goes deathly quiet again. And me and my Uncle Lanny were feeding off my Uncle Jim. If you've ever seen somebody terrified, you imagine being a kid looking at it, to you was a grown man, and my Uncle Jim would probably just been in his early 20s. And me looking at him, and I just couldn't believe the fear in that man's face. And then all of a sudden caught movement, and that thing had stepped right up, and you could see the silhouette of it. Could not make out no facial features, but that thing was just standing there. And all this had been going on, and it took about 45 minutes to an hour for them to get off the river back to the top of the mountain to pick up my dad, and then that long to come back. And they had been gone. Me and my uncles had talked through the years. God, every time we was around each other, we talked about what happened. And my Uncle Jim said he estimated they'd been gone no more than 30 or 45 minutes. Well, they didn't even have time to get to the top of the hill and back down. So all this took on for at least an hour of this going on. And when that thing come forward to show itself, there was another one to the left. But let me back up. Before that, all that was going on. When that thing come running off the second time, my uncle was hollering. We was climbing his back. He's hollering, "Boys, get off. I'm going to have to shoot. Go in the tent." I remember running into the tent and watching him just go, scan from about 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock with that rifle, because he was just trying to follow the sounds of me and my Uncle Lanny's on our hands and knees looking out of the tent. And we hear something coming up behind us, and he put his hand on, my Uncle Lanny put his hand on my back. He said, "Don't move." And you could hear it was bipedal. Whatever this was sneaking in. But this thing that was over closest to us by the road was keeping my uncle occupied while this was coming up. He never heard what we heard in the tent. And finally, when it stepped on a twig I'd say no more than 10, 15 feet behind us in the tent, we come ripping out there about knock him down. Man, he's madder than hell at that point because he's scared to death. We're trying to climb him and he can't shoot. And about that time, the one behind the tent screamed. And he swung that gun around, and then it was going, and then the other one beside the road. And I'm talking, if you put us in the center and you go 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, these distances between like going to the left and going to the right are no more than 25 yards away. And when these things were screaming and hollering, I remember covering my ears as a kid. And I was, just thinking it was a true nightmare. I'd left that part out. But when he turned back around and focused to the one, that's what it was. The one that come into sight was the one that after the second one acknowledged its presence when it screamed. And they went back and forth 2 or 3 times. And then the one come forward is how it was. And my uncle dropped his gun when that thing stepped forward. And you could hear, thinking back on it and stuff we had talked about, you could hear the other one kind of trying to position itself around toward that one. But that old Scout my dad had was really loud. And about that time, the lights hit the treetops. We were kind of in a little bitty saddle, and there was a knoll 60, 70 yards behind us. It kind of topped off and leveled off on the riverbank right by us. And that thing, when them lights hit that's when the thing in front of us next to the road, it tore off across the road. My uncle and all them seen it. They seen it cross the road, and it hit the river. And when it hit the river, it sounded like a car fell out of the sky. And the one that had worked its way around toward the first one that come off, excuse me, it took off running up. You could hear it running up like parallel on the road, running up there, just breaking crap all to pieces. And man, my dad and them pull in there. God, I'm screaming and crying. And we all three were. I mean, and I remember still to this day, them flashlights, them looking around, you can see where the leaves had been shook off those trees and small branches. They went over next to the river, and there was an actual track where that thing had stepped at the edge of the riverbank, had slid down, only one track. And it was huge, but it was a step where it slid down to the river. and over to the left of that, probably 20 yards, was I think 2 or 3 canoes tied up to the bank. So when they had topped the hill and spooked it, but we never heard the scout coming, was what we could never figure out the whole time. Because when they left, you could hear them go for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. You could just hear it, echoing up the river valley. And, but no, that's when it all started for me.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, I've had a lot of encounters and experiences, but you've had some really intense encounters, and I can only imagine what you went through and how you guys felt. Like, did you guys stay the night after that, or did you guys leave?
No, we stayed.
Dang. Yeah.
And stayed for the following 2 more weeks. And see, this was what was crazy. Finished staying with, like I said, we'd been out 2 weeks, and ended up staying 2 weeks. I had to come out because I got in a bad patch of poison ivy and got it in my eyes, my mouth, and went back down there and stayed. But the reason is, and didn't know this till years later, my dad and them were used to it, and my uncles. Miguel, I could write a book. People don't, you don't even know all the stuff that happened to my dad. Real briefly, it was my dad and his neighbors and 3 or 4 of the boys, and he had 2 boys, and they all went out on the river coon hunting. Started storming. They found no abandoned house. Something got in a fight with the coon dogs. The coon dogs hit the river going back across toward where they lived, and whatever it was roaring and screaming, and there was no bear in there at that time. And this old mining house, my dad and his 2 or 3 brothers and the neighbor had his 2 boys there, and my grandpa took them all upstairs, and they sat at the top of the steps, and Dad said that he can remember whatever it was would come inside that house. It never would vocalize inside the house, but it was tearing it all to hell and would leave, and it done it all night long, and they stayed there till daybreak. And he could remember my dad and that guy talking, them old timers, and the only thing they had was a carbide light for a mining light. You know what I'm talking about. And the goddamn things ain't much brighter than a candle. But he could hear, he said, before Dad passed away, they talked about it so many times that they could hear the over conversation of them talking, whatever it is, we can't let it get to the boys. And both of them sat on top of them steps all night long till the day break. And it's just that and too many more. Hell, I could tell this stuff for 2 days straight.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of experiences, and we definitely have to get back together and do more research, hang out, and talk about everything else that you've experienced. And yeah, that's spooky. I mean, I can't imagine what you guys went through, especially your family. And, this was normal to them, and eventually it became normal to you. Okay.
Yeah. What was crazy is I heard some stories until I started coming out or would open up about it. And they'd be like, oh yeah, well, yeah, this has happened to us and that. They just kept it to themselves. You learned how to do that. And that's what I'm saying. Growing up, I just thought this was normal because I listened to my dad and all of his brothers tell their encounters. And I thought, hell, everybody lived a life like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't ask for none of it.
Maybe it's like a generational type of thing. Like you hear about generation and curses, but like, I don't know. It seems like it's in your blood, man. Like these things are attracted to you and your family. And obviously they came back because you've had so much happen. We went down there and did research, and the activity continued. You also told me about this encounter, this road crossing. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. All right. This is right after the vocalizations. The vocalizations I sent you would have been that would have probably been right around the first week or 2 of January, because I had my surgery January the 29th. So it was a week before I had my surgery. just a couple weeks after I had all these vocalizations. I'm driving, and not 4 miles south of me, I'm going down through there, and there's a vehicle coming at me, and me and the vehicle are no more than 200 yards apart. And there's a long sweeping turn, but coming from the right side of the road, up out of a ravine, was a huge black just blur that went across the road. And it was closer to the truck that was coming toward me than I was it. But when it crossed the road, we were probably 100 to 150 yards apart. But this thing was, at the time, like I told you earlier, I didn't know, I don't know if everybody does it, but sometimes you'll have those floaters in your eyes when you first wake up or whatever. But when it happened so fast, that's what I thought. And I hit my brakes in the truck. As I passed it, he's on the brakes. And then I'm realizing my brain's catching up with my thoughts. No, this thing, I could see it running, but it was huge. And the speed of it was, I don't know, man. It was paranormal fast. If anybody's ever seen those videos of where people catch these ghosts and stuff, how fast they move, this thing was like that and even faster, because it crossed the pull off lane, my lane, and then a fast lane and a slow lane going north, and then the pull over lane and the guardrail. And that thing come across in a matter of maybe a second and a half. I know it wasn't 2 seconds, but where it went across the guardrail, that's a cliff line. So where did this thing go? But I know I wasn't the only one seeing it, because the other truck hit their brakes too. And I remember pulling over and like hitting the rumble strips. They was on their brakes and then they let off. So I don't know what the hell that was. It was upright, and it was just like a huge shadow person type. Like I said, that truck was closer to it than I was. I was probably 80 yards from it, and he would have probably been 70 yards from it, just a little bit closer than me, maybe something like that. But it happened so fast, it made you wonder if you really seen something. But I know what it was. I couldn't get my brain to wrap around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they probably got a really good look at it. And it seems like this thing crossed the highway intentionally, like it wanted you to see it.
Well, you said it, not me. And that's exactly what I thought, Miguel. When I went down through, I thought, hell, of all the people that travel this road going north and south working, this thing done it to me. And just, a little over a week later than from all the vocalizations. I mean, and then after I have my surgery and stuff, I go call blasting, and that's when all the orbs and stuff happen. So they're still here, and I don't understand. I know they're here, and where your other guest had his encounter, that's just, I really don't. I can be there very, very shortly, is all I'm going to say.
As the crow flies. And man,
yeah,
it's definitely strange, because you were pouring out corn and that trail camera caught your reaction when you heard those vocalizations. And you even spoke to the neighbors nearby, asked them if they heard anything strange. What did they tell you?
Yes, I drove around the lake, and then when that happened, this was a week after they had come a good snow, and they were 6 or 8 inches on, and it takes me 45 minutes to drive around. And we're driving around through there, and I see this man, woman, and 2 young teenage children, a boy and a girl. And so I pulled up talking to them and stuff, and I said, I know you all going to think I'm crazy, I said, but I'm going to ask you a question. I said, a little over a week ago, I gave them the date and time of when it happened. I said, did you all hear anything screaming over here? I said, because I've got it on audio. And what was so funny about it wasn't really funny, but it was, as soon as I said that and it left my lips, those kids and the parents were looking at each other back and forth. And then the guy said, well, yeah, actually my boy and girl was playing outside in the snow And this was going, and they come in and running inside telling their mom, and they all four heard it. And they said, well, what was that? And then so I just said, well, I know what it was. I said, y'all are going to think I'm crazy. And so I told him that it's Bigfoot. I said, I've heard these things before. I said, people think you're crazy when you talk about this stuff. So I kept talking, going on and on. And then right before we left, the guy said, you know what? He said, that kind of makes sense, because right across from me is a boat ramp on the other side of the lake. He said, just last year, and he said the past few summers, he said, we've lived around here 4 or 5 years. He said, every summer we'll go down there night fish. He said that there's vocalizations, rocks being thrown in the water. And he said it runs them out there at nighttime. He said he won't go back. But he said last summer, after it happened, he waited till right in the middle of the day, and he walked around this little old footpath. He said probably about a half a mile or so, maybe a little further around. And he said that he walked up on what I call a kill site. He said there was bones everywhere, all in one spot. And it wasn't cattle or nothing like that. He said you could tell it was deer, what he estimated to be either dogs or coyotes, and all of that. He said that, he said it was just bones everywhere. And I told him, I said, that's a kill site. Bear don't drag their same prey, or coyotes don't, to the same spot every time. And it's been documented that these Bigfoot Sasquatch supposedly do this. It's what people find all the time, just bones in one area. And then that was in January, right before I had my surgery. So when I go up there call blasting, a month and a half ago, that's exactly where I got my vocals from. Because when I went up there, I had the guy's story in the back of my head, and I know the way the land lays around here, and that's exactly where I was pointing and blasting to, and that's exactly where I got the call responses from.
Yeah, that's wild. And this area where you heard the vocalizations, is this close to where you and your family were camping years ago when this thing came down the mountain?
No.
Yeah. So you've had activity all throughout, like Kentucky, like
oh yeah,
the land between the lakes, the Daniel Boone National Forest, and just a lot of experiences and encounters when you're camping or whitetail hunting. It just seems like they're attracted to you. Like you get in there, you hunt or whatever. Like when you get engaged with the outdoors, like they'll come out. Not every time, but throughout your life.
No, and that's what, people think, well, yeah, he's lying. And it don't happen all the time. It's random, and you never know. You never know when it's going to happen. But I know I put one thing together, and every time, and I can think about it, every single time that I have had an encounter, there was a water source no less than a half a mile away. Ever one.
Yeah. So they stick close to the water. It seems like they're physical creatures. They're out there, but also there's something supernatural behind them as far as like tagging you. You're marked. They follow you around. You see these orbs, strange things that are taking place either inside your house or I don't know. I feel like it's all connected, but at the same time, I don't really know, but I've seen similar things myself. So I feel like it is, but I can't convince people of that until they see it themselves, and they'll be like, dang, Jimmy and Miguel were right.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie to you, Miguel. When I heard people's encounters or stories or whatever you want to call them about orbs and Bigfoot, and I've heard some outlandish ones, and I called them BS from the get-go. But then to me, I don't know, if you've really had an encounter, you could tell when people are telling the truth. But I thought, Bigfoot and an orb, yeah, okay, whatever. No, sir, buddy, I got proved wrong. If anybody's got a crazy story, I like listening to it just to see, because there's more than we realize. Because I got proved wrong about the seeing an orb and then one of these things afterwards. Because I can tell you the color of its hair. I've never seen its face. It was a side profile of it moving away. and it wasn't as big as the first or second one I had, but it was still just as big. But the hair wasn't red, but it was a brownish red tint. Not like an orangutan color, but close. But I mean, just huge. I'm not, and when people talk about having these encounters, they try to estimate the weight at 300 or 400 pounds. Hell no, what I seen, buddy, was 800 to 1,000 pounds. Either they didn't see something like I seen, or they seen a juvenile, because like this one after the orb, I mean, it wasn't as big, but it's still been anywhere from 600-700 pounds.
Yeah, that thing is a beast. Yeah, that's terrifying. And I can definitely relate. After I had my encounters, I felt like I could sniff people out, like, oh, this person's full of it, or this person's telling the truth, because it's an intense encounter and he's describing details. But I'll be honest, like when I used to hear people talk about the cloaking, and this is even after I had my encounters, I'd be like, yeah, right, BS. And one big thing that would turn me off about that was like the super, super blurry photos that people would show, the pareidolia, and they'd like circle red. I'm like, I don't know about that. But then I had experiences out in the woods where something invisible, big, like a big bipedal invisible being, is walking in the woods. It just sounded like a giant lumberjack, like someone who was like 7 or 8 foot tall, walking on 2 feet. And I mean, this is in the middle of the day during the winter time, and you could hear it paralleling us. And this happened with several different people at several different areas. And it's like, well, I guess there is truth behind the cloaking, and I got proved wrong.
Yes, yeah, and I'm telling you, I don't know about you, but there's no such animal down here that can do that, and it be just normal flesh and blood. There's more to these things.
Yeah, you had an experience at the land between the lakes when you were bow hunting with a friend, and you said you experienced the same thing, like something bipedal was walking through the woods. You could even see the leaves being flipped up into the air as it was walking.
Yeah, that as soon as you said that, that made my hair stand on my arms. I was by myself, and I mean that was messed up, buddy. I mean that was messed up. I could tell when it left the road. There was no road to come out there, and there's no settlement that had been out there. And I kept looking for somebody. I thought somebody's walking up on me, and and hell, 3 days in a row. And then I finally told one of my buddies to go back, and he's like, "Yeah, I ain't killed no deer anyway. I'll go with you." Yeah, he like to lost his mind. Yeah, I think we covered that on the first interview, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And man, it's just a strange thing. There's a lot of things that are attached to the Sasquatch, and it's not just this unknown primate that lives out in the woods. Like, you're dealing with a whole nother animal, a whole nother being, a hominid. Like, this is definitely supernatural. And I feel like the time is ending. We're building up towards something. Yeah, people have been seeing this stuff before the Native Americans, but like something huge is building up. Like, this is not normal. And I do feel like these things are, if not the Nephilim, like something that was created in those days. And I don't know, somebody on a podcast mentioned it the other day. Like, when you experience this activity, it just feels ancient. Like, there's something ancient about it. And I agree. Like, there's definitely like this ancient feeling when you're experiencing this activity, or when you see them face to face. It's like, this is way out of the norm.
Yeah, like I said, man, I can't wrap my head around it. I didn't ask to see it, and I've learned how to deal with it. And I swear, every time I want to dabble a little bit, it just pops up right in my face, and I'm like, "Okay, bud, you need to back off." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
I'd
There's
like to
more
take
than
you.
just a physical world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It seems like there's other dimensions here, portals, gateways, whatever you want to call it. I would
Yes,
like to
sir.
take you out to the killing fields here in Missouri and camp out and see if we experience something, because you got Sasquatch in your blood just like me. So I don't know. I feel like if we were together, something would happen.
Well, I promise you, something will pop off, because
Yeah.
uh, either when she was time she was with me, or my nephews, the
Mhm.
same nephew now. they've been several encounters. He hasn't seen one or nothing like that, but they've been a bunch of crazy stuff goes on. It scares him to death, and he's in his late 20s, and he just, has heard everybody in my family, whether it be Bigfoot or paranormal, they even my oldest daughter, she's terrified. I try to get her to go, but she says, "There ain't no way I'm going with you, Dad." But I don't know, man.
I hear a lot of people say, I just want to see one so bad. Like, and they get out there and they look, but I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if you want that. There's a lot of weight on my shoulders, and I know you've carried this weight as well. And it's just like, it's not something that you want to deal with.
No, not the two that I had face to face. Oh yeah, if I could have seen one going through the woods or strolling across the field or running across, yeah, the second one, when I seen it come out from behind the tree and looked at me so confused. It's on our first video we done. It was so confused, and I was uphill. This is off the backside of a mountain. I was uphill like on a 2-to-1 slope, only 30 yards away, and I mean I could see the wrinkles in this thing's face. I could see everything, but I could not take my eyes off of it. But after that thing had reached to the ground with its left hand, it never took its right off of the thing. But when it stood back up, when its face melted, and when I mean melted, I mean it went from a confused look to where just all the life out of its face just dropped. And then when it started morphing back, and morphing is just changing shape, and it started showing its teeth, and I could see its chest going in and out, and it was working itself up. I mean, that messed with me for years, buddy. The nightmares did. And then I took off trying to dig my way to the top of the hill, and which I did, and come off the backside, and this thing come after me. Hell, man. You don't want an encounter like that.
Yeah. No, that is terrifying. I've had them parallel me, but I haven't had an intense encounter like that. I had one charge through the woods at me, but I was standing on my back porch of my house. I did a Bigfoot call, and this thing tore through the woods. I mean, it was snapping trees, branches, and it was zigzagging its way towards me, and it sounded like a bulldozer was moving through the woods, and it just stopped right at the edge of the wood line, and everything got quiet. I was like, holy shit, what is that?
Yep. You know what I'm talking about then. Until somebody's heard one of these run through the woods, you can't explain it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Your mind tries to rationalize, as some kind of animal, but, and if you've hunted in the woods a lot like I have, and you have, you know what things sound like. Even deer run off, even when bears run off, I know what they sound like. But when you hear one of these running, you can't figure it out. There's something just not right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was happy to see you get back out in the woods. When you showed me that photo of that big buck, I was like, all right, Jimmy's back out there. So that's good. You haven't been scared to go back in the woods. Some people never step foot in the woods ever again. They never go hunting or camping, and they just can't do it. And I'm sure it does mess with you. It messes with me too. Like, you almost lose like the passion to hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right, Miguel. And like I said, I stayed away from those areas for 15, 20 years. And I went back up there and got more what I bargained for. Scott Carpenter, that was from just right down Tennessee there, close to where I work in Maryville. He was a great guy, and he died of a brain tumor, a brain aneurysm or something. I can't remember. But he said they were from the Nephilim, and they're real.
Yeah.
And it seems like every day that they keep figuring out that stuff that was in the Bible is real. Well, if that's the truth, then why can't they comprehend, that these things are real? Mm-hmm. It talks about them.
Yeah. And that's how it was when Jesus was alive. He would do all these miracles right in front of people, and even high status people. And it's just like they couldn't accept it. They couldn't believe it. And that's what's happening today with these Bigfoot encounters. People are seeing these things, they're telling others, and they're just being dismissed like, oh, it must be a bear, or you're seeing things. These things don't exist. And it's like the buildup is happening, and people are either looking the other way or they're embracing it.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, what I've encountered and witnessed and stuff has been horrifying. But they would be one thing that would keep me out of the woods for the rest of my life. And that would be if I ever had a dog man experience. That would be the end of it for me. I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah, I told myself if I see one, I'm done.
Yeah, and I know we can sit and laugh about it, and I mean I've heard several people. Martin Groves and was one of the most terrible that was on the confessionals with Tony Merkel. Now that one right there was in the Daniel Boone, not no more than an hour's drive from here. Now that one right there, and that
Yeah.
let's see, Kyle was that boy's name.
They are out
Have
there.
you ever heard it?
I'm not sure if I have, but I feel like when we did that investigation in the Daniel Boone National Forest, the vocalizations that we heard were definitely a cryptid, but like the first thought that came into my mind was canine. Like it sounded canine.
Yeah, I mean, because if and I know you remember, we were being parallel on both sides, and I don't know how far we went down in there, but it was a long ways, and somehow we got turned around, and I don't know, I still ain't figured that out. But when you made that call, I mean, it was immediately a response, and then all the way back, we were hearing responses, and if people, and I know you have, you can distinguish a real owl from when something's trying to imitate an owl. And that was the same way in that night behind the house here when there was 6 of them. And you know something? I just put 2 and 2 together. I counted 6 times of them things hollering down that ridge, and that's how many orbs I seen out here across the road.
Yeah, that is strange. Those vocalizations too that we heard, they came from the river, and it was the same way later on. You heard these things by the river. When you were hearing these vocalizations, I remember you telling me that what I got on video does not do it justice. Like it was completely different in person. What do you think they were saying? What were they communicating?
I don't know, but I tell you what, still I can go back when we was hearing them, but I swear, Miguel, it sounded like it was just a part out of Jurassic Park. They were 2-tone pitches. That thing would scream out, but it was dual tone pitches. You could hear one tone start out, then you could hear the second one come in that way. And what was on the recording, it was not what we heard in real life. And I couldn't figure that out. It was a dual tone pitch. Started out as one, and I mean, it sounded like something out of the movies. And I mean, it just up that canyon, that river canyon.
Yeah, and it sounded prehistoric. Like I remember when we were at the Airbnb cabin, Joe, or the Ozark Harry man, he was showing you or telling you about the St. Louis County, Minnesota calls, and you ended up recording something that is very similar. And this thing sounds like an elephant, a lion, and a freaking dinosaur all in one.
Yeah. And like I said, I've got 2 videos of it to prove it, and my trail camera took the exact time stamp. As soon as the bag of corn hits the ground, I hear something in front of me, and it's got me. I've got my knife, pulling my knife out in front of me, but I raised my head up and I'm looking straight ahead. And I thought that was weird. I mean, it was like they was saying, "Here's the food," or I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know I'm
it's
not
definitely
crazy because I
strange.
got it on pictures and video.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. As soon as you start pouring out corn, right there at the trail camera where you've gotten the orbs, the shadow person, or possibly a Sasquatch, they vocalize. I feel like they were directing it towards you or communicating with one another, like, let's triangulate around this guy. I don't know, like something was getting ready to happen. I guarantee you, if you camped there that night, they would have came in.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know
blame
if
you.
I could have camped up there.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is, well, I don't know if it's cool, but you got access to where you heard those vocalizations. So you can go in there and check it out. It's definitely strange that they found a kill site. And I interviewed a guy from Colorado who found the same thing. I mean, there was like elk and ducks and all kinds of like skeletons left behind. And it was a huge kill site.
Yeah, and Miguel, you could tell he was hesitant of saying anything until I said, well, I know what they are. I said, you're going to think I'm crazy. I said, but I don't care. I've seen them. I've heard them. I said, it's Bigfoot, Sasquatch. You could see his brain was like putting two and two together, kept talking. He said, well, I wasn't going to say nothing. He said, buddy, I'll tell you, he said, for the last 3 or 4 years, every summer when we go down there fishing, we get run out of there from, vocalizations and rocks being thrown in the lake. And then he goes around there and he said, and I was getting ready to leave. He said, well, I'll tell you one more thing. He said, there's a foot trail. And he said, I'll show you how to get there. Tell you, actually, is what he said. And he said, it's around there about a half a mile or so. He said, and I walked up and he said, it wasn't on the trail. He said, it was off the trail, not far off the trail. And he said, there was bones. And he said, I mean, hundreds of bones. I said, do what? He said, yeah. He said, I'm not saying like where a deer or two had died. He said, I mean, there was hundreds of bones just scattered out, but they were in one spot.
Yeah.
And
these things were munching on critters. And it kind of reminds me of like when people eat frog legs or lobster, like all the leftovers that, that are left after you eat. It's like these things are doing that with deer and turkeys and all kinds of critters.
And I don't know if you remember, but when we got back after feeding a deer, it was like if I wasn't up there every 2 or 3 days feeding him, you would just hear crazy stuff at night around here.
Do you think
the owl calls?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The owl calls at night. We're sitting here and she said, tell me you hear that. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, what was it? She said, that's owl calls. She said, turn the TV down. And I mean, they were in front of the house, behind the house. And when I go out there, as soon as I went out the back door, the first one on the very highest part of the ridge sounded off. It was like a whoo. And then it went from that one all the way down. I was counting them. And then the last one that hollered, I was looking straight ahead, and it's exactly where I feed the deer. And it was like, are these things telling me that? Now, I know this sounds stupid, but I've got the pictures and I've sent them to you of them deer there with multiple orbs around them. Are these things coming in there eating that corn too?
I think it's possible. That's what I was getting ready to say. Do you think like somehow you created like a gifting situation, and when you feed them, they react, and when you also don't feed them, it kind of ticks them off, and maybe that shadow being, if it's a Sasquatch or a shadow person, maybe they're cloaking and coming in and grabbing the food and the camera isn't picking it up, but I don't know. That's just a wild theory of mine. Who knows? But, oh man, it's freaky.
Well, yeah, if you remember and maybe when you do this, you can put up some of the stuff, and if you need me to resend them, I can, but there's one picture when I was having all the orbs. And if you remember, there's one like somebody turned on a flashlight, and you can see right there's nobody there with a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got the deer lit up.
Yeah, I noticed that. And it's a good quality photo, too. I mean, you got some awesome finds from the rock stacks that you've taken photos of, that shadow being, the orbs, like this is high quality stuff. Even that photo with your granddaughter, you can see that hand, like that's spooky. I mean, everything that you've sent me, it's like, okay, there's a lot more going on here. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's not. I got more than just if you call it a story, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But no, man, I
These are
want to
true
come out
accounts.
there with you and do some research. I'd like to get to meet David and everything because so many things that's happened to him, you know, I can sure relate to it with the rocks and the bluff charging, and so can you. Just
Mhm.
to see if I don't know, just to see if it is me. I don't know.
I think you'll find out some really interesting things when you come out there and sit around the fire and talk to us, because he's had a lot of stuff that he hasn't told on the documentaries, and there are similar things that you've told me that you haven't told on the documentaries. So I think we would definitely be able to relate and definitely be able to experience some activity out there. And like I said, it seems like we've been marked, and maybe if we get together, we'll experience some activity. And it seems to be that way.
Yeah, that's the truth, buddy. I'm telling you, I don't know if it's where it's the aura that people, if it's a vibration, but I mean, I could honestly write a book, and the paranormal stuff is crazier than the encounters with Sasquatch.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. I think you should write some books, and I think they would be very beneficial to the research that people are trying to seek out. They need to learn more about these things, and what you encountered was definitely real. And it was definitely spooky. That one that you saw when you were rattling the deer antlers, and you mentioned that it was wrinkly looking. Did it look like an old Native American, like an elder, like how leathery and wrinkly like their skin is?
oh yeah, it was more of the brow ridge was it was so I remember when it first come out, I was like in my brain had completely shut down. And looking back on it now, well, when it come out, the first thing it was in my mind, it's just my own personal thoughts and fears was it was demonic, it was the devil. But it was just had a Neanderthal look. The brow ridge was so prominent. I could just, you know, close my eyes and slow myself down and see it, see the wrinkles. The eyes, I said, had, I could see whites around the very outer edges, but the center of it was, you know, when you kill a deer, how their glass looks like a mirrored silvery look.
Hmm.
That's what the reflection was like it was giving off. But didn't have a snout, didn't have a conical head. It had a big prominent jaw line, big old white blocky teeth, just massive. And the traps, they look like logs, and its shoulders look like bowling balls. But the arms, honestly, besides its face when it changed and melted, really the most freakish thing about it was how big the arms, how long the arms were, and how big and long the hands and fingers were. I mean, it was not marish, hideous. Just
It was an
I don't know.
abomination.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I couldn't have said it any better.
Were the fingers like as big as round as like bratwurst, like huge?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe not as fat as that, but they were 7 or 8 inches long. That ain't even counting the palm. I'm talking just the fingers. This thing could palm a watermelon. I've made an example before. It could have said its palm on the very tip top of my head, and its fingers would have been below my chin. And a head way bigger than a basketball. Uh, I don't even think you could have put its head in a 5 gallon bucket.
Yeah, their heads are like the size of bison, bigger.
Yeah. Yes.
Man.
And you tell me that something that most of them, I won't mention no names, but most of them mentioned that they're just a primate that ain't been discovered. That's a bunch of hogwash. I don't
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah. And how do you feel like what does it make you feel like when you talk to researchers and they're like, I just want to hear about Bigfoot. I don't care about any of the other stuff like orbs or anything else, like all these intense experiences that you've had along with it. Like, what do you think about that? Do you feel like they're not doing the research justice, or what?
Yeah, they only hear what they want to hear. Now I would never shoot anybody down before when I heard their encounters, and I'll be honest, like I said, even I heard the Native Americans, they were the ones that really put the Orbs and the Bigfoot together. If they said, if you seen balls of lights in the woods at night, get out. And and I never did discount the Indians because I believe what they say. They've been here longer than we have. But some of them I heard, I was like, man, are you talking about out there? They really are. But no, nope. I know what I've seen now, and I'll never judge nobody else's encounters. Just because theirs don't match mine, don't believe they're not telling the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people that think it's an undiscovered primate, I can't be mad at them because maybe they only heard like rock clacks, whoops, and some sticks being broke out in the woods, which does like line up with primate activity. They will stack rocks, they will bluff charge you, they do strange primate calls. So there is that. But when you really experience like next level stuff, like there's just no going back.
Yeah, and like I said, am I saying that they ain't that type out there? No, I'm not. They probably is and probably are. But I'm just saying what I seen was no ape, was no primate. No way.
Yeah, absolutely. So if the Ozark Hairy Man and myself get back out there, what's the game plan? Like, what should we do? What do you think will
Well,
put us in the center of this activity to where we can document something, whether it's on the audio recorders, the thermal devices, this new thermal night vision drone that I'm getting? I mean, anything that we can get. What's the game plan?
well, the only thing you got to do is just come to where I live, and we'll go across. We can go right here and cross the lake. I know where they're at.
Yeah,
And like I said, where
that's
we was at in the Daniel Boone,
uh-huh.
and I ain't gonna say the other place that we went because I don't want other people knowing. But if you remember, I screenshotted that Google map, and where I live and where we went, the way a crow flies ain't 15 minutes
Oh wow.
away.
Yeah, me and Joe actually found that spot on the Bigfoot mapping project. We saw a few icons there, so we're like, "Hey, Jimmy, let's go here." And you're like, "Okay, let's go." I mean, we went to several areas in the Daniel Boone. You took us to your areas where you've had experiences at, and down there by the graveyard. But the spot where we heard the canines, that came from the Bigfoot mapping project, and I'm not going to say where that's at, but it just seems like where we were staying at the Airbnb where you live at right up the road, like that was the hot spot. And we went way deep into the woods looking for these things. And it's like they were there the whole time, man.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'd had stuff that happened there, but I just didn't. It's not that I wasn't trying to hide nothing from you. I had really pretty much talked myself into believing that it wasn't real. And I kept thinking that until it kept getting shoved right in my face. And then you can't deny it when you get videos and pictures of it. You can't deny that then.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like if you got a firearm or a bow, you're out there hunting, you're going to tick these things off.
Yeah, where your other guy was on and had his encounter, I know exactly where that's at.
Really? He kind of described it the same as like when you were camping when you were a kid, like these things like rushing you and they're all around you and they're hooping and hollering. Like that's what he said in the podcast. Like that's kind of what was going on with you, except a lot more menacing.
Yeah, I don't know what pissed this thing off.
You guys stayed for too long.
Yeah, but hearing all my uncles and my dad reassuring me that it was just a mountain lion or it was a bobcat or it was this or it was that. And then till you got older, did I realize they was lying through their teeth to me because I was just a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I can sit here while we're talking and just think of so much stuff, man, that has happened to me and I don't know, but there's more to life than what we realize.
Oh yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. Okay, Jimmy. Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
No, man, that about covers it. And of course we'll keep in touch. And anything new happens, I know probably won't be tonight, but here in the next night or two, I'm wanting to go back up there and call blast. But this time when I do, I'm going to be ready. I just couldn't believe the last time I done it how fast it fired back at me. I could not believe it.
Yeah,
And
that was definitely
I'll be ready this
unexpected.
time. Oh yeah, I mean, I just thought I was just going to go out and play with the toy. I didn't know I was going to get a response back that fast. But no,
Mhm.
man, I'm glad to be back on the show. I can't wait till you and Ozark, Harry, man, to come back. And I definitely this summer before this fall comes and it gets rough and stuff. I promise you, I'll come out there. You just get with David, and I'll come out there, and we'll spend 3 or 4 days out there at his farm. And
Oh yeah.
I guarantee you, something will stir up.
Oh
It
yeah.
always seems to follow me.
I guarantee you will see the orbs out there. That's for sure. I don't know if Bigfoot's going to come in, but you will see the lights. And yeah, when you do come out, you will definitely have a comfortable place to stay. We'll pull up the camper up there, so you'll have everything you need. And I'll stay in my tent. And I think we'll be able to do some pretty good research out there for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I can't wait. But as always, buddy, I think a lot of you, and you're doing the right thing, and don't let any of the haters try to tell you otherwise.
I appreciate that. And thank you so much for telling your encounters and experiences here on the channel. I mean, I really don't know what to say. Like, I'm extremely grateful and thankful for everything you've done. And I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it without people like you.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, just thanks for having a platform for people like us. That's all we ask, and not none of the bogus bullshitters.
Absolutely. Well, send me anything that you haven't already, and anything that you come across in the future, definitely document it. Even if you question it at first, like, take a picture of it.
Okay, I will, buddy. I promise.
All right. Sounds good. And you take care of yourself. All right.
All right, you too.
All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, see you, buddy.
Yep. See you later, man. Bye.
All right, bye.
All right, everyone. That was Jimmy from the Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky, and I consider Jimmy one of my close friends. There's not very many people that understand me that have had the same experiences and eye-sighting encounters as myself, but Jimmy has. Jimmy knows what it feels like to be paralleled by these creatures, to be bluff charged by them, to know what it feels like when one of these things slaps the side of your house. But not only that, it goes far beyond just an unknown primate, an undiscovered creature living in North America. Jimmy knows what it feels like to experience a supernatural activity. I talk about the giant owl that I've seen and the orbs, the cloaking, and Jimmy can certainly relate. He's seen the same things, and we're not talking about pareidolia here. We're talking about a 8 to 10 foot creature that's invisible walking through the forest, and you can really feel its presence. The orbs, it's definitely supernatural. The Native Americans have talked about it for generations, and they say to never pursue the orbs or else you will meet your demise. What did you guys think about the vocalizations and also the trail cam photos? The shadow person or the cloaked Sasquatch on the muddy trail cam is definitely freaky, to say the least. I plan on getting back out there with Jimmy here this winter, so stay tuned for that in the future. I appreciate everyone for listening, and until the next one, you guys be safe out in the forest.